Hi everyone, welcome to this video on the paper 2 reading exam for EDUQAS. We're going to look at questions 1 to 6. So remember, you get 6 questions in the exam. They will always be on the same theme, so the extracts will be on the same thing. This one is 2 people going to see gorillas in the wild. So we've got the modern extract, which is Cole Pilkington talking from his diary from India abroad, going to see the gorillas. And we've got the older extract from Mary Kingsley, who in 1897 went to see the gorillas, and she wrote a book called Travels in West Africa. So question 1 and 3 are exactly the same. They're information retrieval. So you've got to find the details in the text that the question's asking for. And my advice would be try to write a full sentence. It can be a short one. So for example, if you read this extract here on the left and the question was, which famous building did Cole visit in India? You track through the text, you find the famous building, which is Taj Mahal, and then you would literally write when Carl went to visit the Taj Mahal. In this case, you've got 3 questions. What type of walking equipment is given to each trekker? How far away from Carl is a huge silverback? What is the name of Carl Pilkington's guide on the track? So if you want to, you can pause the video and go for the answers yourself. I'm just going to go through the answers. So pause the video if you want to read. So what type of walking equipment is given to each trekker? Look through it. It says a walking stick. How far away from Carl is the huge silverback gorilla? 10 feet away. What is the name of this guide on the trek? David or Dave. So like I say, it's a nice, easy question. It's meant to be a nice introduction to the exam. If you don't find all the answers after a couple of minutes, leave it and go back at the end. You can't spend 5 minutes looking for 1 mark. You've got to get the 10 mark questions in the exam. The main way people don't get the grade they want in the exam is they spend too long on the low mark questions and they don't get to question 5 and 6, which are easy peasy. So question 2. So question 2 is language analysis, same as question 4. And this question is, how does the writer try to make his trip to see the gorillas sound very tiring, but a memorable experience? So you've got 2 things to look for. And from now on in the exam, you must refer to the text to support your comments. In other words, every point you make, back it up with a quote. So why do we want a lot of quotes? You should almost think about it as each quote you do, you're going to get a mark if it's correct. So the person on the left only did 2 quotes, so they got 2 out of 10. The person on the right did 10 quotes, so they got a 10 out of 10. So think to yourself, if I only do 3 quotes, I'm only going to get 3 out of 10. And really, the average to get a grade 4, you need to get at least 4 out of 10 on a 10-mark question. My advice to my students is be a human dictionary, pick out certain words and say what they mean. So before we read the extract, let's say the quote was, seeing these animals was a treat. If I was a human dictionary or thesaurus, what does treat mean? Well, it really means a special, enjoyable occasion or experience. So really, I'm going to put that into my answer. So I've got the writer shows the trip was a memorable experience with the quote, seeing these animals was a real treat. This shows Carl found it a special and enjoyable experience. So my light blue is my sentence starter. A lot of the time the sentence starter should be the question. My yellow is my quote, and my blue is explaining what that word, what are the connotations of the word treat. Also, I always tell my students who say, how do I get 7 or 8 quotes? And my main advice would be to mix it up between quotes you explain and quotes you don't need to explain. So say if it was the same question, how does he show it was tiring? And literally the quote is, I was exhausted. You would get a mark for just saying, the writer shows he was tired when he says, I was exhausted. That quote is so easy and so simple. You don't need to dive into it because it's such an easy one. You'd get an easy tick. So my advice would be, if you're doing this question and you're looking for 8 or 9 quotes, like I've put here in my bad handwriting, try to do 4 or 5 quotes where maybe you have to explain it, and 2 or 3 where they're easy answers. So the ones I've zoomed in on here are knackering. I mean, that's an easy one. You wouldn't have to explain that. And then he says it was a perfect sight. So that's maybe one where you'd have to analyze it. Okay, so yeah, go through the text. Always make sure you take quotes from all over the text. I'm not saying you'd have to explain all of these, but highlight anything that makes it seem tiring or memorable. And these are the ones that I picked out. Feel free to pause the video to see, maybe think to yourself, why have I highlighted those words? Why are they telling me? And I'll go through a couple. Okay, so the first one is an easy one. So like I said, so one of the quotes says, even the fittest of us were huffing and puffing 20 minutes in. So really simple. That's pretty obvious. It sounds tiring. So I've put, the writer shows it was physically tiring by saying, even the fittest of us were huffing and puffing 20 minutes in. So nice, simple quote, nice, easy mark. If it said knackering day, which it does in the text, if I was a human dictionary, what does it say? Well, it says exhausted, tired, worn out. So again, just put that into your answer. So the writer shows the trip was tiring by describing it as a knackering day. This suggests he was exhausted and worn out. So again, blue is my question, yellow is my quote, purple is explaining why I've chosen that word, the effect on the reader. Okay, another one. Incredible privilege to stare into the eyes of a wild yet beautiful creature. So again, human dictionary, what does privilege mean? Yeah, it basically means an honour. So again, put that into my answer. The writer shows the trip was memorable by describing it as a privilege. He feels it was an honour and that he was lucky to be there. Again, blue is my question, yellow is my quote, purple is explaining the effects of the word. My feet were throbbing and so was my head. So this is going to be one for tiring. So you've got a few things in there. So again, what does throbbing mean? It means pounding, pulsing, aching, painful, stinging. Again, put it in your answer. The writer shows the trip was tiring by describing throbbing pain to his feet and head. This suggests the trip caused him a stinging and pounding pain. Again, the connotations of the word throbbing. It was a perfect sight. So again, awesome, beautiful, blissful, excellent, fabulous. The writer shows the trip was memorable by describing Carl seeing the gorillas as a perfect sight. This suggests it was the best thing he's ever seen. Okay, so here are all of mine. So I've only put 6 on there. I'd probably want 8 in an ideal world, but 2 of them are those really easy ones that would only take me 30 seconds to write. So again, if you're looking for 8, try to do 2 or 3 that are easy, and another one you need to explain. So there's another one in there that I haven't mentioned. The quote was clambering through bushes. Again, what does clambering mean? Basically means this tells the reader Carl had to climb or move in an awkward and laborious way, probably using both hands and feet. Again, that sounds tiring. Okay, question 3 is exactly the same as question 1, but it's on the other extract. So again, if you want to pause the video, pause it. How far away was Mary Kingsley from the gorillas? 30 yards. Name one other animal that Mary Kingsley came across. Elephants, leopards, and pythons. And what disturbed the gorillas when Mary Kingsley was watching them? David was sneezing. So again, nice simple question. Shouldn't take you long. Should get 3 out of 3. If you can't find one, go back at the end. Question 4 is exactly the same as question 2, but it's on the other extract. And normally the other extract is a bit tougher to read, but it shouldn't be written like in Shakespearean. It should be easy to understand, but maybe just a few more archaic words. So again, same as question 2, 15 minutes, 10 marks. Try to do 5, 7, 9, 10 quotes, depending on your time. Again, want a lot of quotes equal marks, so do as many quotes as you can. So even though I've said try to do 5 to 8 quotes, really it's what you do in the time. So you've got about 15 minutes, do as many quotes as you can in 15 minutes. Once, really important, once that's done, you move on. You've got to get to questions 5 and 6. But again, we're being a human dictionary. So if Mary Kingsley captured our mixed feelings, that's good and bad. If I said I was horrified when I saw the gorillas, again, they could have put I was annoyed, I was moody when I saw the gorillas. But again, horrified, human dictionary, human thesaurus. What does it mean? It means extremely shocked. So the writer captures her mixed feelings with the quote, I was horrified when I saw the gorillas. This shows Mary was extremely shocked when she met them. So again, blue is the question, yellow is my quote, green is the connotation of the word used. Again, same as question 2, try to do an easy one. So if the question is, how does she capture her feelings? And the quote is literally, I was so happy when I saw them. You can literally put, the writer tells the reader she was so happy when she saw the gorillas. Again, it's such an easy quote. Don't waste time doing a big explanation because all you're going to be doing is repeating the point that she's happy. So nice, easy question, get a mark, move on to a more convoluted text. Okay, so again, Mary Kingsley account captures her mixed feelings. So you're probably looking for 3 or 4 good and bad things she says about the gorillas. Again, use text to support your answer. So if you want to pause the video, pause the video. But again, try to pick a few easy ones and a few more difficult ones. Feel free to pause the video if you want to read the text. Again, these are the ones that I picked out. Again, pause the video if you want to look at them. Have a think to yourself, why do you think I've highlighted them? And I'll go through a few of them. Okay, start with an easy one, nice easy one. She says in the text, the gorilla is the most horrible wild animal I've ever seen. Again, it's easy. This is a gift of a quote. It's really easy. You could zoom into it and you could analyze it, but you're only going to get a 1 mark. So if it's a dead simple one, just put it in a sentence. The writer shows negative feelings by saying the gorilla is the most horrible wild animal I've ever seen. Great. You'd get a mark. go on to another quote where you may have to explain it more. So another one. Tearing to pieces, this is talking about the gorillas and the food. Tearing to pieces and eating a pineapple, attacking the bananas, destroying more than they ate. So again, if you look at the verbs used here, they're all saying the same thing, aren't they? That the gorilla's powerful, it's quite aggressive. So again, tearing, what does tearing mean? Ripping and breaking. What does attacking mean? It's an aggressive and violent act. What does destroying mean? You damage something so badly it can't be used. So all of these are very aggressive, very powerful verbs. So I put, the writer shows her feelings with the quote, tearing to pieces, attacking and destroying, to describe how she views the gorillas. All three quotes suggest aggression, power and violence. Again, yellow is my question, purple is my quote, green are the connotations of the word. A graceful, powerful, superbly perfect hand trapeze performance. So this is a quote when the gorillas leave the area where Mary is and they swing through the trees. So she's used the word graceful. So again, what does graceful mean? If you use your human dictionary and thesaurus, it means pleasing, attractive, elegant. So I've put, the writer shows positive feelings by describing the gorilla's movement. A graceful hand trapeze performance. This shows she thinks they look attractive and elegant. Again, the definition of the word graceful. So it's actually the same quote, but this time I'm going to zoom into a different part. The superbly perfect hand trapeze performance. So again, human dictionary, what does superb mean? Excellent, extremely good. What does perfect mean? Pure, complete, consummate, absolute, faultless. Again, put that into a sentence. This shows she thinks it was extremely skilled and could not be bettered. Okay, question 5. So question 5 is this first question in the exam where we're looking at both texts. However, I want you to do question 5 and 6 exactly the same way. So question 5 is 4 minutes and it's 4 marks. Remember, if a question in the exam is 1, 2, 3 or 4 marks, it's comprehension. It's basically picking a word out and saying, basic comprehension. Get a word from the text. Whatever the question has asked you, grab it from the text, pull it into a sentence. So it's the same as question 1 and 3, but it's for both texts. The only difference is you put it into sentences. This means you needed to pick out 2 quotes from each text. You don't have to compare in this question, so you don't need to say, Cole Pilkington says this. However, Mary Kingsley disagrees. And you know PE, so you don't need to explain your answers. Be clear which text you're talking about. And it does say that in the text. So if you look right in the blue, make it clear which text you're referring to. The easiest way of doing that is using their names. So this question is, using information from both texts, explain briefly what gorillas eat. So fine, look at Cal Pilkington's text. Give me 2 things he says about what the gorillas eat. Look at Mary Kingsley's text. Give me 2 things she says. Okay, and this is how you should structure it. These aren't real answers, but this is how you should structure it. You won't get a quote mark for just putting a quote, but just do a little sentence starter. I put a little subheading of Cole Pilkington and Mary Kingsley. Really nice way of setting out your answers. So again, if I look through Cole Pilkington's, feel free if you want to pause and look for the food. But basically he says the gorillas eat a lot of ants, they eat grass and they eat bamboo. While in Mary Kingsley one, she says they eat pineapples and they eat bananas. So just put in a sentence. So Cole Pilkington, underline it. He says gorillas eat a lot of ants. He says he saw a young gorilla eating grass. Another gorilla was chewing bamboo. Kingsley saw the gorillas attacking the bananas. She also saw them eating a pineapple. So I put 5 there. I only needed 4, but nice simple question. I'd get 4 out of 4 marks for that one. So question 6 is exactly the same as question 5, but you need more quotes. It's worth 10 marks. It's about 15 minutes. So you need to pick out 4 or 5 quotes from each extract. Again, you don't need to compare. On the question, it will say compare, but you can get 9 out of 10 just by doing the same technique as question 5. And again, you don't need to explain your answers. But again, be clear which text you're talking about. The easiest way of doing that is like I put in blue here, is by using the surname, so make it clear. So this question is, both of these texts are about what writers see in the wild, and what you're looking for is actions or behaviours of the gorillas in the wild. So basically anything that Carl and Mary saw the gorillas doing. So it could be a mother holding its young, it could be a gorilla swinging through the trees, or it could be gorillas fighting, for example. Okay, so again, this is what your structure should be like. You should try to do 4 of these. Again, exactly the same as question 4. Do a little sentence starter and give me the quote that proves it. If you want to go back to the few minutes ago and have a look at the extracts, see if you can find the actions or behaviours of the gorillas. If not, I'll do it now. So Cole said he saw a mother gorilla feeding its kid. Another was sat on his own 40 feet away from his mother. One gorilla ate grass using its feet. He heard a long growl from one gorilla. He also saw one gorilla sat just off the main road. Mary Kingsley, underline her name. She saw the gorillas pulling down bananas. She says the gorillas made a shrill, whinnying, chattering noise. She says they moved in an inelegant style. They made a sound somewhere between a bark and a howl. She saw the old male gorilla swinging himself from bough to bough. So remember, some of these quotes you might notice have come up in previous question. It's absolutely fine to repeat quotes from previous questions if they fit another question. Okay, so like I said, I haven't explained any of these answers. I haven't compared any, but I'd get 9 out of 10 for this question. And considering this is the last question in the exam, you'd be running out of time. Take the 9 out of 10 and move on. Okay, so to recap then, time manage. When your time is up on a question, move on. If it's a low mark question, you spend about 4 or 5 minutes. You don't need to explain. 10 marks, 13 to 15 minutes. You do have to explain the majority of your answers. But again, if you can do 3 or 4 quotes that are easy, just shove them in a sentence. Keep your eye on the clock throughout the exam. Leave a one-line gap between all your answers so it's clear for the examiner. There's no need to say a word is a verb or noun or adjective. Just pick out the word and give its effect to the reader. If you run out of time on a 10-mark question, don't explain your answers. Just put it in a sentence and make sure you finish all questions. Hope this has been some use to you. Hi, this video is looking at the Paper 2 non-fiction writing exam for the GCSE English language. So yeah, Paper 2 is non-fiction. If it was Paper 1, we'd be looking at writing a short story. But in this part of the writing exam, we've got to write 2 non-fiction questions. So the non-fiction exam is 2 hours, 1 hour for the reading, 1 hour for the writing. Give yourself an extra half an hour if you're someone who has extra time. And like I said, there are other videos on YouTube on my channel. I've done the other 3. This one's looking at Paper 2 writing. And even though you've got 6 text types to do, the main thing you've got to get into your head is the goal of each text is the same. It's to persuade the reader to agree with you. So if you're doing a letter about a complaint about something, you're persuading the reader to agree with your complaint. If you're writing a review of a favourite film, you're trying to persuade the reader to go and watch your favourite film. So a bit of info, you've got 2 documents to write in an hour. Each piece should take 25 minutes to write. Give yourself 10 minutes to check. It's worth 40 marks and each question is worth 20 marks. And for each question, 12 is for content and 8 is for spelling, punctuation and grammar. So here are the 6 text types: letter, report, review, speech, leaflet and article. I've highlighted letter and speech just because those are the ones that came up in November. And it's 300 to 400 word the word count. I would say average size handwriting, 1.5 pages at the very minimum to 2 pages for each task. So it's a really boring document called the examining report, which says what students did well and not so well in exams. And so I've read the November 2022 one, and the main thing that stopped grade 3 students from getting grade 4s was answers are too short. So you need to write at least 1.5 pages to 2 pages. So these 2 questions here actually were by 2 different students, but really similar in terms of ability in English. But just because the person on the left with the grade 3 didn't write anywhere near enough, that person on the right got a grade 5. And mostly that was because of word count. It wasn't particularly that our English was better, but you've got to give the examiner enough to mark. So that is the amount I think you should be going for with the grade 5 in blue. Go for that. Students didn't plan their writing, missed out questions. So remember, if it's 20 marks and you miss out one of the questions, you're going to be stuffed. And examiner tip, check for errors with SPAG. Word count does make a difference. What they've given you 300 to 400 is the word count. So if you're not going to do 300, what the examiner says, you haven't given them enough to mark, too brief. So you've got to make sure you get into that word count category. If you're struggling for word count, one way of doing it is make your writing real, be specific, real places, real examples and experiences. Talk about stuff that's happened to you, even if it's not really happened. You can pretend something's happened. So the exam strategies that I think are really essential to get you into the grade 4 and aboves are tip 1, 5-point plan. Tip 2, write a great intro. Tip 3, use duress. Tip 4, improve basic SPAG. So if you want to go to the actual layout, because really the only things that changes in the text types are the tone of the piece and the layout. If you want to do that, go towards the end of the video. Okay, let's go look at the 5-point plan first. So you must know what you're going to write before you start writing, and the plan's going to help you do that. So remember, your plan goes on your answer page, like these examples. It doesn't go on your question paper. The question paper gets chucked in the bin. You will get a mark for doing a plan. If you don't do a plan, your writing ends up looking like that, all over the place. Remember, 1 point per paragraph. Don't put lots of points in a big chunk. You don't have to do anywhere near this word count, but that is the structure of what you should be going for. Intro, conclusion, 3 main points. So this is the example plan I would use. I show my students. Intro, conclusion, saying hello and saying goodbye are 2 sentences. And your main paragraphs, where you're going to get your marks from, is 5 to 8 sentences. Try to vary them up a little bit. So don't just do 5 or just do 8. Try maybe to do 8, 6, 5. Okay, here's a typical question. A newspaper article has appeared suggesting some people say we're better off without internet. Do you agree? So most of the time you will get a question where you have to decide for or against something. I'm going to say I'm for the internet. So here's my plan. And so what I need to do is, in my intro and conclusion, say my argument that the internet's good, and then 3 reasons why it's good. So I put in my intro and conclusion, the internet is amazing. I'm going to do 1 paragraph on social media, 1 paragraph on online shopping, and 1 paragraph on entertainment. The good thing about plan is you'll get a mark for it, but also you can almost tick this off while you do it. It's a nice methodical way of doing your question. Here's another question. Write a speech to your class with the following title: My Dream Holiday. Again, do a little plan. So you could do Florida, Disney World, Universal Studios. I'm going to do a skydive and end by saying, in conclusion, those are the reasons why Florida would be my dream holiday. Okay, so we've done 5-point plan. Let's move on to write a great intro. Okay, a lot of people struggle to get going. Once they get going, they're fine, but they do struggle with the introduction. So my 4 tips for writing an intro: no more than 2 sentences. Actually, 3 tips. No more than 2 sentences. In your first sentence, copy out some of the exam question for help. And in your second sentence, be clear on which side of the argument you're on, but not your reasons. If we go back to that internet one again, is the internet good or bad? My intro might be, dear sir or madam, in your newspaper, a number of people said we'll be better off without the internet. I'm going to explain why I love the web. Actually, talking about sir or madam, actually, probably nowadays you might want to change that to maybe to dear editor or dear whoever concern. Maybe sir or madam is probably with the gender fluidity, maybe not the right thing to do. So I put, in your newspaper, a number of people said we'll be better off without the internet. I'm going to explain why I love the web. So my first sentence, now in red, I've literally copied that from the exam question, most of it. And in my second sentence, I'm going to say my side of the argument, which is, I'm going to explain why I love the web. Okay, so that's the one we like. Think to yourself, why I would not like this one. Dear sir or madam, there are a lot of good and bad things about the internet. I'm going to discuss these in this letter. So it's not very good for a start, is it? But one reason why it's not so good is it's not given a clear argument. I know you probably wouldn't, but if you were going to write a letter to the newspaper, you're not going to reply and message them and go, hi, I'm writing this letter, but actually I'm not bothered either way. You're going to be really passionate about either side of the argument. So try to do that in your exam. And why wouldn't I like this one? Dear sir or madam, I think the internet is great. I like it for finding information and for talking to friends. It's also good for shopping. So that's not good because, again, although it's given a clear argument, those things that he talked about, finding information, talking to friends, they're for the main paragraph. In your intro, you're just stating your reason for writing. So here's another one for the dream holiday. Hi everyone, I'm here today to talk to you about my dream holiday. My ideal destination is Florida and I'd like to go there soon. I like the weather there and I want to meet the local people. There is lots to do there. Again, not very good. Even though it's stated what you're doing, again, it's saying the reasons without going into any depth. The last part of that is for the paragraph, is for the main paragraphs. Hi everyone, I'm here today to talk about my dream holiday. My ideal destination is Florida. So first sentence, I've said what the question's about. Second sentence, I've said what argument I'm going to give. Again, this is a really basic one. You should try to do one better than this, but this is just the nuts and bolts. Your intro and conclusion should pretty much be the same. So that's why I put this GIF here to show that they should reflect each other. So if I did a question about festivals are a waste of time, message in your friendship group said festivals are a waste of time. Write a letter giving your view. My intro might be, hi Lily, I read in our WhatsApp group that someone said festivals are a waste of time. I want to explain to you why I think they're unmissable. So again, first sentence said what the question's about. Second sentence I've said my argument. My conclusion could be, In conclusion, these are the reasons why I disagree that festivals are a waste of time. I think they're unmissable. So they're pretty much like for like, aren't they? I've just almost reflected it, turned it around for my conclusion. Yeah, so those are the bits I've highlighted. They're both exactly the same. And again, I've used that word unmissable as well. Okay, so that's that done. So now we're looking at dress. So you do get marks in the exam for being entertaining, being lively, and the main way the main way of doing that is using some stylistic features. And there's lots of stylistic features you could use. You could use figurative language, similes, and all that. These are the ones I probably would use in the paper 2 exam. Direct address, rhetorical question, exciting adjectives, statistics, and sentence starters. So here's a paragraph that was in a question about writing a speech about things that annoy us. And this student did one on snoring. So they said, firstly, I think we'd all agree that we need to get rid of snoring. Is there anything worse than being woken up at 3 a.m. by a gigantic snort? In a recent survey, it said 45% of these people make these nasal nightmares at least 3 nights a week. Seriously, the sound is annoying, cringing, and makes me want to scream at the person to shut up. It also puts me in a revolting, rancid mood for the whole day, and my family know not to mess with me afterwards. We need to act now and get rid of it forever. So my green is my direct address using we and you. My blue is my rhetorical question. My exciting adjectives is my pink. My statistics is my yellow with 45%. And I've got some sentence starters there in grey with thirsty and seriously. So the idea of this should be that all your paragraphs, in particular your main paragraphs, 2, 3, and 4, should be full of these stylistic features. So all the way through, you've got direct address. All the way through, you've got rhetorical questions, exciting adjectives, statistics, and sentence starters. Okay, so in the last one, I would say if you're someone who's at school when you're like got grade 7 or 8 or 9, this is maybe not something you got to worry about too much. But if you're in that sort of category between 3 and 5, you need to make sure you proofread and improve your basic SPAG. So the main things you've got to make sure that you do in the exam, this is what is expected of you to get a grade 4, is no run-on sentences, apostrophes, paragraphs, homophones, main ones are there, your and your, where and where are not homophones, but near enough, capital letters, and basic spellings. When I was looking at my group's feedback from the mocks, the main thing is sort of run-on sentences. This is the mark scheme, but like I said to you, it's 8. The SPAG is out of 8, but you cannot get out of the box, the 1 mark box. You can't go up higher if you don't have your full stops and your commas sorted, your punctuation sorted, and your tenses. So the common thing is with run-on sentences is that you're using commas all the time where you should have full stops or connectives. So things to improve for my students in particular, I would say, would be run-on sentences, apostrophes, topic sentences, capital letters, where actually capital letters is more of it. It's just the handwriting. You need to make it clear. And your word count. Make sure you get up to the word count. So remember, a run-on sentence, this is a typical run-on sentence. I hate this movie, comma, it's so boring. So remember, that is a wrong sentence. That would be marked wrong. It'd be a big circle around it. 2 ways to correct that would be to use a connective like because, I hate this movie because it's so boring, or to use a full stop. I hate this movie, full stop, it's so boring. So again, this is a real typical student paragraph where in fact it's not a paragraph, it's 1 sentence. I've used an emoji here to tell you every time the person uses a sentence, there's literally 1. It's full of commas. Again, it should be something more like this where every sort of 2 or 3 lines or 1 line, mixture of short, medium, and longer sentences, that's what you should be looking to do. Okay, so the one on the left would get you high marks, the one on the right wouldn't get you out of that bottom category. Okay, so here's another example. This is a student story that I did recently. I'll read it as it's written. I've always been the quiet gal. It was my chance to show everyone who I really am. It was going to be the best part of the year. I was excited. Okay, so typical. First of all, there should be a full stop instead of a comma, which is what a lot of students do. And also what students do is they don't put just no punctuation. So the bottom one here, it was going to be the best part of the year. I was excited. You don't put a comma in, you put a full stop or a connective. You wouldn't want to do full stop every single time because it'd be really repetitive, and you wouldn't want to use a connective every single time because every sentence would be like 3 or 4 lines long. So use a mixture. Okay, here's another one which I'm not going to make you do. Okay, so also make sure you check your there, and there's. Again, You'll struggle to get any sort of mark if you're not too great on them. There's loads of online quizzes and things you can do to revise that. And apostrophes. I've noticed with my class, it's not particularly a possessive apostrophes. So it's not things where you own. So it's not if I said like Noah's book or Rob's house. It's not those ones. It's sort of the sillier ones, really. So it's omission. So it's I am becomes I'm, do not becomes don't. We all know to do it, but you just got to make sure in the exam you check it. Okay, topic sentences are definitely something that can be improved. So what is a topic sentence? It's basically it's normally the first sentence in your paragraph, which the idea is it's a statement that tells you what the paragraph will be about. So I would always make sure you've got a good, short, simple topic sentence at the start of your main paragraph. So in our plans, that would be paragraphs 2, 3, and 4. So if I went back to that question about is the internet a good thing? And I did my plan. Yeah, I remember my plan was it was good for the internet, it was good for shopping, and it was good for social media. A good topic, this would be a bad topic sentence. Firstly, the internet is good for a lot of things, and they can include watching things with your friends online that can be entertaining. Okay, it's not sharp, it's not short, it's not simple, but also it doesn't really tell the reader what the rest of the paragraph is going to be about. Try to do something short and snappy like this. Firstly, the internet is fantastic for entertainment, and then the rest of the 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 sentences will all be about why and how the internet is fantastic for entertainment. Okay, so if I was doing this one, I'd be, firstly, the internet is fantastic for entertainment. Secondly, the internet is great for shopping. Thirdly, the internet is brilliant for communication. So it's nice and simple, it's nice and easy. And if you want to impress the examiner, you've got the rest of the paragraph to do it. But just in your first sentence, just in your topic sentence, make it really nice and clear and try and use those sentence starters. So if we were doing that festival, that question again about festivals are a good thing, my plan is, one good reason it's for music. The second good reason it's make new friends. The third good reason it's food and drink. Again, my topic sentences be nice and clear. Firstly, festivals are fantastic for unmissable music. Secondly, you will spend time with friends and make new ones. Thirdly, festivals are a great place to explore food from all over the world. And again, the rest of the paragraph can be going to explain why I think these things. But make your topic sentence for your middle paragraphs nice and simple and clear. Okay, so that's them all done. Those are the 4 tips all done. Okay, now I'm going to go through the layout of each one. Again, the only things that really differ with all the text types, again, I've told you, the main thing is try to persuade. The only thing that changes really is the tone. So is it formal or informal? And the layout. So do you need titles or subheadings, whatever. So for all tasks, you got to persuade the reader to agree with you. Try and use interesting sentence starters like firstly, secondly, however. Use dress, so those stylistic features. Always do your 5 paragraphs, intro, conclusion, 3 main points, and no more lines without a full stop. So make sure you're not doing those run-on sentences. Okay, so example of a letter. That one about the internet, which we've talked about already. And here's my structure for a letter. I wouldn't do addresses in the letter. I'd go straight in with dear sir or madam or dear editor. So say hello, intro, conclusion, 3 main points. Exactly the same as all the other ones, all right? And end it with yours faithfully. So if you start with, if you don't use a name, always end with faithfully. So I would almost just say yourself, you're going to do that if you get a letter, because a lot of people spell sincerely wrong. So just remember for a letter then, if it's dear sir or madam, ends with yours faithfully, and you don't need to bother writing the addresses out, go straight into. Okay, an example of a speech question is, you've been asked to give a talk to your class on the topic, things that drive me crazy. Try to be entertaining and explain why your choices annoy you. 9 times out of 10, it will be a speech to your class, so that means you can be relatively informal. Okay, here's my structure. I start with a welcome, so it can be good morning, good afternoon, but then all the same as all the others. Intro, conclusion, 3 main points. Okay, so you'll notice I'm going to keep saying this, but they are basically the same one. They're structured the same way, just with small differences. So just remember for a speech, try to use direct address all the way through, you and we, and rhetorical questions, and it can be a bit more informal if it's to your class. Okay, a review structure. If you get a review in the exam, it will either be a film review or it will be a review of maybe like a holiday you've been on, almost like a TripAdvisor kind of view. So slightly different review. Try to come up with a catchy title or at least the name of the film. Some sort of rating, so you could do stars or out of 10. But then after that, it's the same. Intro, conclusion, 3 main points. So 3 good things about the film. So remember, review, try to give some kind of star rating, try to come up with a catchy title. So if you were doing the Fast and Furious, even if you added the fantastic Fast and Furious, use a bit of alliteration and try to use ambitious adjectives. So don't just say the film is good or interesting, fascinating, amazing, appalling, etc. Okay, article, very similar layout to review. So if you get an article, it would be something like write a magazine article about a place in the UK that is a good day out. So like a magazine article. So I've got a catchy title. Again, I've picked Bournemouth for this example here. Don't just put Bournemouth, try to do a title. So I put want a great day out, rhetorical question, visit Bournemouth today. Okay, a bit of a command. But again, after that, intro, conclusion, 3 main points. This one has also added some subheadings. So instead of saying beaches, I've put gorgeous golden beaches. Instead of saying the air festival, I put the sky's the limit. Instead of saying the aquarium, I've put dive into the oceanarium. So I've tried to make that a bit catchier as well. Member of an article, create a catchy title and subheadings. And again, it can be more informal depending what the magazine is for. Normally it will be a magazine for your school or college. Okay, leaflet, very, very similar to an article. Example of a leaflet might be write a leaflet about, I don't know, like having a nutritious diet, or write a leaflet about a great attraction in the UK. This one was about a monkey world. So again, I've got a catchy heading, intro, conclusion, 3 main points. And I've got some subheadings as well. So remember, with a leaflet, write the same way as an article, trying to persuade the person to go and visit where the leaflet's for. Be careful, it may be called a guide in the exam. Don't panic and think you've not covered it. A guide is the same as a leaflet. Create a catchy title and subheadings, and don't draw any pictures. I know that sounds ridiculous, but if there's 100 students, there'll be one person who tries to fold the paper like a leaflet or draw a picture. Okay, so a report, this is the only one that's a bit different from the others, not so much in terms of, well, it is a little bit in terms of structure. So we've got a formal title, a formal subheading, okay, and then an intro. And basically what a report is all about is a company or something will not be doing very well, and you're asked your advice on what the problems are and how to solve them. So it's a bit differently with the main paragraphs, where in the main paragraphs in the report, you give a problem and then give the solution. So say, for example, it was a leisure centre and it was saying like, I don't know, the swimming pool wasn't very nice. You could do 2 or 3 sentences saying like the pool's not very nice, it's very run down, it's not clean. And then you could do a couple of sentences to say, to solve this, it needs to be redecorated. There needs to be one person cleaning at all times, for example, and then do a little conclusion. So reports, okay, this is why it's different. You've got to make sure in a report it's very, very formal, business-like, so don't use any slang. You're not going to use all address, so it wouldn't be appropriate to use like exciting adjectives in the report, but definitely use statistics. And then each of your main paragraphs describe a problem and how you're going to solve that problem. Okay, so to sum up then, write an exam things to remember, finish both questions. Remember, you have to do both questions. You need to write 1.5 to 2 pages, 1.5 minimum for each writing question. Check your homophones, capital letters, apostrophes, and run-on sentences. Do your plans at the top of the exam paper. You will definitely get a mark if it's on the the answer paper. Use your sentence starters, firstly, secondly, thirdly, at the minimum. And when your time is up on the question, move on. Remember, the exam's out of 40. They're both worth 20 marks. So you need to spend the same amount of time on the same. All right. So hopefully that's been some of use, and good luck to you in the exam.